All right, Rice Creek fans, we are back here at the optics counter, and with us today are all of the fine folks down at North Country Marketing and Vortex Optics representatives. We've got a lot of great product to cover today. Vortex has got some new stuff out that we're pretty excited to talk about. Mr. Chris Gillman, go ahead and take it away. Eric?
Yeah, no, thanks for having us, Aaron. We're sad to not be at Rice Creek this time. We love interacting with all your customers, and boy, that's a tremendous selling event. But we'll do the best we can here. It's Eric Mathison, myself, Chris Gillman with Vortex Optics, and we've been selling them actually since they started making them. It's a great company. They're based just west of Mathison, Wisconsin. Boy, they just believe in taking care of their customers. If you call them, someone actually answers your questions. They've got unbelievable engineers on staff, great salespeople. They've a lot of users there. A lot of people. We've got an Idaho sheep guide on staff. We've got a lot of military law enforcement type people that work there. So just a fantastic company. One of the things for sure that put them on the map is their unconditional lifetime warranty. So, if you do have a problem with one of your items, you send it in there, they fix it or replace it. Turnaround's incredible. And you don't have to keep a receipt, and honestly, even if it was your fault, they're going to take care of you. So that's one thing that you can really feel good about Vortex is they're there to answer your questions and they're there to take care of their customers. It's just an amazing facility they just bought, and their sales are tremendous. Right now, obviously, with the pandemic going on, and we're seeing a lot of sales are really good prior to that, but there has been a big spike. A lot of people are buying ARs and pistols, and we have the right optics to put on those. So obviously, we're seeing a tremendous increase in sales. It's been very good.
Yep, I know. Even as a small startup company, Vortex's warranty shook the industry.
Yeah.
And really rattled the cages of some of the really big manufacturers and how they operated and how they did their warranties. It was interesting.
I'd like to say we not only say it, but we back it up. We have 2 separate rooms there. We have more people working after the sale than we do before the sale. So I actually dropped a pair of Viper binoculars out of a tree, sent them in, didn't tell them who I was, and I'll be darned if a day later I didn't get an email saying, hey, we received your binoculars. It's a 68-day turnaround. And next day I got a tracking number, and they were on the way back, and they're better than the day I bought them. So yeah, I couldn't believe it with my personal experience with what happened when I sent my pair in. It was amazing.
Yep, I know I've got a good customer here, Mr. Brad McMahon, did the exact same thing with a pair of razors, dropped them out of his tree bow hunting, and he was 72 hours out from heading out on an open country mule deer hunt. I had my team overnight him for him because, well, we live in Walker. There's not exactly a UPS station or a FedEx station right down the road. And yeah. Vortex had him back on his doorstep in less than 48 hours for his hunt, no charge.
That's wonderful.
Amazing.
Yeah, we hear that fairly common. So it's really something that we at Vortex, they really do hang their hat on is their warranty. And they, to your point, Aaron, they did shake up the whole industry. They kind of come into line with us because we set the standard.
They did, and they did a good job of it. Well, without further ado, let's roll right in. Vortex makes an amazing lineup of red dots for almost every occasion, every gun, and any situation you want to play in. You want to rip through some of those for our guys and gals out there listening?
I will real quick. I've got them laid out right here, and we've got quite a few. Red dots are super popular. Basically, it's simply just that, a red dot you put on your target and squeeze the trigger. But there's a few different price points, and what do you get as you go up in money? And I just thought I'd start out with I don't know if you can see that, but we've got a Crossfire 2 red dot. This just came out a couple of years ago, and it's been amazing. Super bright red dot. It's got 11 intensity settings. So if you're really dark, you don't want a super bright red dot on. You just want one on 1 or 2 or 3. As you go into a bright day, like a sunshine day, then you might want it all the way up to 11. So it's the brightest red dot you can get. It's a 2 MOA red dot, which is pretty fine. So very accurate out to even long distances. You don't get magnification with most red dots, and we'll go through that as we go on. But Crossfire, it's a multi-level mount here. It's skeletonized, super lightweight, very, very durable. $150 with a lifetime warranty. Even red dots carry a lifetime warranty. So we start out at about $150. Then we go into like the Strike Fire 2. All right. Super tactical looking. Comes, you can have either a red or green dot. Comes with a cantilever forward mount, and it's got 6 screws on the top so it's rock steady. Works off a AAA battery. So you've got your brightness deals on the side here, and you can actually buy a magnifier to flip in front of it if you want high 3 more power magnification. So 0 on the red dot, additional 3 if you want that flip off magnifier. But strike fire red dots we've sold really put us on the map. So that's their next price point up. Believe those let's see, the strike fire red dots are $199, I believe. I know you guys have your sale going on. If you go into the Spark, so you go into a Spark AR, a lot of people just like super compact. So you're getting more compact, triplet 50,000 hours of battery life on the Spark AR. And this thing's $200. So I'm sorry, $249. I'm sorry, $249 retail on the Spark AR. If you go into more of a prism scope, so this is a red dot scope, what we call it's actually has a reticle. So it's more sophisticated than just a red dot. And if your batteries did go out, the reticle's etched in the glass. So you still have that black crosshairs, if you will.
That's my favorite AR edition right there. That's my top pick.
Sell a pile of them. We do make a 3-power prism called it's a 3X, if you will. Yep. That has a slightly more sophisticated reticle. It's got hash marks out there, so it'll take I believe it takes an standard AR, out past 500 yards with your hash reticles there. Then going into the Venom and the Vipers, and it's called a micro red dot. These are super popular on the side of ARs, if you will. So where you had your scope on the top, you mount this on the side, or on top of pistols. Matter of fact, you guys bought a pile of them for the gun fair.
Yep.
We were going to have a lot of them on the range for people to try. This is becoming very, very popular, even with the police force. Some of the trainers down in Mathison at our training facility, I actually got to go shoot with them. And what it is, it gives you an advantage. A red dot's going to be just more accurate than just a front iron sight. It takes a while to get the movement down to where you come up, acquire that red dot, and then start shooting. But once you get it, you're more accurate. So selling a lot of these to the police departments. And of course, with the rise in pistol sales, these Venoms are even getting hard to get, to be honest with you.
For all those aging shooters that have glasses or are in the need of glasses, not having to deal with a rear sight, a front sight, and a target in 3 different planes is a huge advantage once you get over that learning curve with the red dot.
That's right. So just to recap, Aaron, Crossfire 150, Strikefire 200, Spark AR 250, Prism start at 250, the 3 powers 349, the Venoms themselves, gosh, I think those are $249.99, and that's everyday price.
Everyday price. We will have some Rice Creek pricing going on. We're here taking phone calls. So if any of that jumps out at you guys, give myself or one of my team members a call, and we'll get you that pricing over the phone.
Wonderful. That's just a rundown on red dots. Quick acquisition, super wide field of view. You can shoot with both eyes open. And like you said, as your eyes get aging, you might have to go to red dot if you can't see the front.
It's helpful.
Shotgun. You don't have many options.
I can't see that shotgun beat anymore, so I have one on my turkey gun.
That's
yeah, you bet.
I hear you.
Got it. All right. You guys want to roll into the amazing scope lineup?
Yeah, we sure could. I'll maybe start out, and then we'll get Eric involved here too. But we start out with scopes. We make scopes. Actually, they start at $129.99 for a 2 to 7 Crossfire 2. Tremendous optics, and they go all the way up to $2,500. So we make from the most precise shooting equipment you can possibly buy, all the way down to your standard hunting series, like our 3 to 9 by 40 EDC reticle Crossfire 2 runs about $150. Lifetime warranty, fully multi-coated lenses all the way through. So a lot of people, as you coat the surfaces of your glass, there's less light refraction, more clarity, more fidelity, more crispness. So a lot of people build their scope and they'll put a coating on one side and a coating on the other, and they call it multi-coated optics. Well, every glass to air surface all the way through, even our Crossfire 2, is fully multi-coated. So a very, very, very good scope for the money. So starting out with a Crossfire 2, they make them in a 2 power all the way to 7, all the way up to like a, really high magnification for the target shooters. As you start out on 2-power, you have a real wide field of view. As you go up to like say 7, it's a little narrower, and if you go up to 9, it's more narrower. So if you are hunting, always keep it on a lower power if you're walking. Don't use that high magnification until you're in your tree stand or you want to check for horns. Normally that's kind of the trade-off. As you go up in power, you lose field of view. If you go up from the Crossfire, you go to our Diamondback series. It's kind of like a good, better, best. They start about 200. Little extra, little better glass, you know, little more features in the Diamondback. If you go in the Viper series, which you guys probably have the best selection at the store than I've ever seen, the Viper series, man, that's where you're getting just tremendous quality glass. The highest, you're going to more robust tubes, like a 30-millimeter tube, little extra brightness, if you will. And we even make them, you know, like we make a bunch of different Viper series, from your standard Viper HS hunting and shooting. As you go up in price point, a lot of times instead of like 3 times 3 is 9, 3 to 9 power, we'll have like a 4 times 4. So it'll be 4 all the way to 16 power, kind of like shooting with a spotting scope almost. And then we even have like a PST, which is 5 all the way to 25 power. So we've got a bunch of different Viper series. So you're getting the bigger tube, the better coatings on the glass, the scratch resistance, the dust proofs, the ultimate prismatic systems with more sophisticated reticles. Some of them have illuminated reticles, and some of them even have what they call first focal plane. And what that is, it's kind of hard to explain and really quickly, but what it is, first focal plane, as you turn up the magnification, your crosshair actually grows in size. So your holdover marks or your BDC reticles or your hash marks are going to be consistent no matter if you're on, say, 4 power or whether you're on 16. So if your main crosshair is 0 or 100 yards, your next one down is, say, is 200. On a lot of scopes, as you increase the magnification, that's not the case. The front, you know, your first crosshair might be 100, but the next one down might be like 400 yards, and you're going to miss your target terribly. So we do have
a little confusing.
focal plane optics.
I do carry, I do carry both for all the shooters that are first focal plane, second focal plane fans. I do my very best to keep both versions, provided they're offered in both in stock. I know one question in the Viper line that comes up quite often after being on the website or Vortex website or my website. They get confused between HS, HSLR, and HST. And that's a pretty simple one. All of your hunter shooters are capped HS, everything capped. A guy that doesn't want to be bumping turrets, messing with turrets. HSLR, hunter shooter long range, keeping that windage capped. That's for the hunter that wants to dial his corrections out there, out west, wherever he might be. HST, hunter shooter target, guys, pretty simple. It's exposed on both sides. That's for the shooter dialing his windage correction and his elevation correction. Just to simplify the lineup, we do our very best to carry all of them. So if you have one in mind, please give us a call.
Aaron, that's a great explanation. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, they'll dial. I mean, it's a precise calculation. If you want to shoot 1,000 yards or 600, if you know your ballistics, you know what bullet you're shooting, you know how fast it's going. There's a lot of phone apps. There's a lot of science behind it, but you can be very precise up and down out to long range. So like that Viper LR, for the person that might dial, you know, they might look at an animal that's 680 yards away. They might dial and shoot it right where they want to. But a lot of people don't dial for the wind. That's kind of a guessing game. So the Viper LR just has a dial for elevation, where the HST, you can dial both wind and elevation. There you go.
Yep. I prefer the reticle and the wind. If I get to dialing on my windage, I lose track, but that's just my shortcomings as a long range shooter. I'm sure a trip out to the Vortex ranch will straighten me right out.
Yep.
Amazing lineup. Another question I get, guys, as long as we're on scopes, the Generation 2, PST Generation 2, which has cornered the market in this price point, the AMG and the Razor.
Yep.
A lot of guys want to know, why would they buy an AMG versus a Razor?
Yeah, and I mean, it's simply very simple. I mean, first off, you're talking like really, really precise high-end shooters. Okay, so as you go up into the Razor series, which I have a pile of them, but most of them are on my guns over there. Razors are bulletproof. They're like, we have a 4-27 razor with very sophisticated reticles, a large 34 millimeter tube. So we have if you're going to shoot, you want a lot of adjustability, to shoot long ranges. So they go to a little wider tube, if you will. They're very heavy. They're 48 ounces or so. So this is a serious long range competition type shooter that maybe your life depends on it. That's what you want. If you go into the AMG, okay, you're shaving, it's like a 28 ounce optic.
You can
it's
feel it.
Built
You can
off
feel it
a
at the
30
counter.
millimeter tube. So you have all of the precise features, but it's a lighter weight scope. So if you were going to go on a real long range mule deer hunt, or if you were going to go, you drew that once in a lifetime sheep hunt, where you wanted something that you can carry in it, it's not going to add so much to your, all of the advantages you can get for long range shooting, and all the preciseness and the very most advanced reticle. When they build these, I've actually been in the room that they build these, and it's absolutely amazing. They keep the temperature range exactly. When you walk in that door, it adjusts for a temperature variance, because their tolerances, I can't even tell you the fractions, the preciseness, that they go through to make sure every piece is just exactly perfect. The very, very best coatings on every glass surface, and the very best components you can possibly buy would go into like a Razor AMG. I mean, right down to the screws and the detents and everything else, but a lightweight option for your serious shooter that might hunt with it also.
Got it. So we got PRS guy, heavy duty use. Guy that wants the same performance and scope that weighs half as much, we're going to AMG.
Perfect. I mean, that's a very, if you go on the vortexoptics.com and click on some of the, or even go into some of their podcasts, you'll find out every little minute detail between the two. But that's just a basic rundown. It's two different people.
The specs on the website does a great job. Well, that's a pretty good rundown on scopes. Mr. Gillman, did we miss anything?
The cross or copper.
I will say just, a little bit, like our Strike Eagle series with all the AR sales, and these fit great on shotguns and everything else. A lot of the AR people, you have to choose between a red dot, quick acquisition, or you're going to kick in a room and you want a quick target acquisition, or do you want something with magnification where you might shoot a long range? Or if you are going to do some three gunning, you have a Strike Eagle series, and they're purpose built, but they're very, very durable. They're usually very low profile with low profile caps, a lot of illuminated reticles, 30 millimeter tubes. These things are selling like crazy right now. 1 to 6, a 1 to 8. We even brought out a 5 to 25. They'll be shipping soon. So the Strike Eagle series is just doing fantastic.
It's definitely my number one AR optic. Bridges the gap. A lot of guys that put red dots on their ARs come back and buy a second optic because they want a little magnification.
This is where we introduced one of the new optics that are just coming out in 2020 here, is the new Strike Eagle crosshairs have changed on the newer items. They all have a Christmas tree effect and enough windage for a half mile an hour increments as they go down. And it's, lighted optics. It's very, very useful. It's great optics, but you'll find as you see the newer style coming out here Chris has, that it will be even more received in a positive light. Yeah.
But I look forward to getting the new reticles.
Yeah. Yep, you bet. And what about the copper?
We could probably spend, you guys have your NBS, your private label scope, the copperhead that you do.
And you guys rock with that.
That's
big numbers.
if it's someone's just a more of a short range hunter, obviously shoot long range, but something else, something not too technical, your private label series does very, very well.
Yep. We're getting a lot of copperheads, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Great value.
Well, we would definitely be tripping over ourselves if we didn't talk about the binocular lineup, because Vortex has done a beautiful job with their binocular lineup, covering every end of every situation they could, from base models to the sharpest razor glass you could imagine. expand on that. So let's start with some of the maybe the new stuff that you've got coming at us.
You know what? One thing that's new, you know, like I'll just throw this out there: the Diamondback 10x42. We think this is a #1 selling binocular in the world. You know, it's our mid price point. You know, the 10x42s, they actually, even though they were selling so good, now we're offering a free glass pack with every one purchase. So it comes right in the box. So we increase the value of the Diamondbacks, and that's a very affordable, depending on what power you buy. You know, it's $229 and up. You know, 10x42s, I believe, are $230. You could go you could go to a 1050 or a 12 power, slightly more money, but they're coming with glass packs, which is really, really cool. We start out with a Crossfire series. We're on the $199 price point. They're tremendous. You can't say enough about them, with a lifetime warranty. And then we go all the way up into a Viper series, and then all the way up to the Razors. And Eric, you spent a lot of time behind the Razors. Maybe you want to talk about.
We actually have a Razor, and then we have a new Razor UHD this year. And what's really unique is they have a prism in there that is a little longer. When you look through the glass, and actually something you would want to take outside of the store front, is you get a true 3D effect. It's all about the prism that's in here. It's called the Abbey Koenig, and it's a longer prism. And anytime you get into a longer tube here, this distance from here to here, your focal length out at distance stays in focus so much cleaner. And this is a wonderful glass, high end, and it's pushing us, Vortex, up into the next level of optics, and been very, very well received. Just beautiful. Everything is coated, multi-coated, as Chris mentioned earlier, lifetime warranty. And I just cannot say there's very, very minimal things to ever look at this in a negative light. It's positive. It does come with a glass pack as well, as most all of our stuff does. And it's really nice.
It's got a lightweight chassis on it, you know, but really the glass on those things, I mean, it's kind of like going in to buy a diamond. You know, if you're a diamond maker and, you know, you look at a diamond, you say, man, that one's close to perfect, and that one's really good, and that one's really good. Well, oh my God, that's the best in the world goes over there. And that, you know, we use the best equipment we can possibly make. And the way we coat those lenses, I'm not obviously an engineer, but there's to get the fidelity and the perfect colors. There's a way you build a glass where there's layers and layers and layers of glass compressed together, so that the light transmission and the edge-to-edge clarity is second to none. And there isn't a better, I don't believe, versus the UHDs. And I mean, you got to look through them side by side and experience it for yourself. But so we're going from really, really good all the way up to the very, very best you could possibly put your hands on.
So if I'm not mistaken, Vortex extends that VIP warranty from the most basic Crossfire all the way to the most expensive Razor, correct?
Exactly right.
Absolutely.
You bet.
So one nice thing that I'd like to highlight when we're talking about the difference in glass, and I had a training that I did a couple of years ago, and I told the scenario is this: if you're with the Crossfire and you're looking on a hillside, and the situation was the dad and his son who worked at a retail outlet, they're looking at the same hillside, and he says, hey, look behind that bush, there's something there. And when he looked at the youngster who had the Razor binocular, looked behind, and he goes, oh, Dad, it's a beautiful big buck. And he'd had the reason you want to step up in price if you can afford it is that he looked through the same binocular, the Crossfires, his dad was, it was just a little round knob through the same power magnification, but the clarity is so much better. Not only do you just start to see horns, you can actually count points. The higher the quality of the glass really shows.
And magnification will never make up for the quality of image. So
you're
correct.
Spend
a lot of time in the woods. It doesn't take very long to justify a set of Razors. in
Right.
short order.
You don't want to, if you're ever intend to, if you spend the rule of thumb, if you spend like 3 to 5 minutes looking through a glass, like say you, in our neck of the woods here in the Midwest, you might see a bachelor group of bucks out on a bean field in July, and start looking at horns maturing. And if you're going to look at that for any length of period of time, you really want to have better glasses, much easier, less eye strain, and something that you're going to truly appreciate. Yeah,
Yep, it becomes the most valuable tool in your pack at the end of the day. That's
it
for sure.
does. It does. Absolutely. Yep.
I know another thing, if we haven't missed anything major in binos, and I know that I own one of the first models that was out. Vortex does an amazing job with their rangefinders.
Right.
Do you have some rangefinders we could play with today?
We absolutely do. We'll start with the binocular. This is the new Fury is now out to 5,000 yards. I think the original ones, Aaron, you probably were at 1,600 yards. They now have out to 5,000 yards. To be realistic, you might get a water tower to get a bounce back at 5,000 yards. But as a rule of thumb, for any rangefinder, you cut that distance in half. Is 2,500 yards that you'll be able to see get a bounce back on what they refer to as a soft target, maybe like a elk or a deer or something like that. Bear, elk, a moose, even cattle, horses, so forth. And they're very, very nice. One of the nice things on the Fury binocular, because of the rangefinder being on what would be the right eyepiece, both eyes get an independent focal, which is unique for us here. Both eyes have to be focused, and they are clear as a bell, and they're great value. You can see they're not overly large to handle. You can handle them one hand if you have your gun or your bow in your other hand, and the buttons are not something you're just going to bump, but they're right where your hands would be when you're handling. You would just pop it, and it gives you a quick LED reading, much like Chris was talking about all the light settings on the red dot series. You have the same type of situation here, whereas like if you're out coyote hunting on a bright sunny day and it's snow all over, it's bright, you have to have these set at the highest brightness level. Conversely, if you're, the prime time right at daybreak and right at sunset, when you don't want to have that brightness out, right. You want to have it really subdued, and so that the numbers don't blind you, and then you can take that's the animal I want to shoot, and put your deal behind there, crosshair behind the animal.
They didn't miss too many features on those, Eric. Are you familiar with what glass is in there? Is that a razor glass?
Yeah,
is that a Viper glass?
It's a Viper glass in it, but it does have an upscaled prism over what the Viper would have. So it's kind of a happy medium. You get an upscaled prism in the Fury binocular. That's what really helps sell or helps as you look through them. It'll sell yourself. So it starts off with Viper glass. But one of on that razor that Abby Koenig, the prism in here, that's what really distinguishes where you can spend the time in a store setting where you guys might go outside and look at it. You can sell yourself on it. It's the prism that does help.
Yep, I believe that.
Quite a bit. Yep.
I think those are like 1,200 retail.
Yep, $199. It's a great value.
With rangefinders, we start with an impact. It's an 850 yard rangefinders, and they're finding out that prism is actually doing even better than that. So they're going to change that slightly as we go forward. But impact 850, $199. Does have angle compensated and all fancy features. It's a 6-power magnification. So if you lose, you forget your binoculars at home, you still have a binocular. It's 6-power, ultra clean and crisp. As you go into like an 1,800 yard, you're paying more money for it. This isn't the exact, and this is our 4,000, but we do have a middle price point. Benefit of the the Vortex 1,800 yard rangefinder is it's got a red LED, which I really, really like. If you're looking at a brown animal in dark and that red LED, you can see it so much better versus just a black readout, if you will. Then we
Yeah.
go all the way up to a 4,000, the Razor 4,000. You know, if you're taking that long range hunt and you want the very, very best, it's got a few extra features. It's got razor glass and everything else. So in the rangefinders, we have the binoculars, and then we have good, better, and best.
Yep, and this goes out to 4,000. Just a couple of those nice features that this one does have is that it has a filter in it that you can read through. You have to go through the settings, which are very, very simple to do. You just primarily hold the button down for about 5 seconds and toggle through the different settings. But you can have a setting that you can say you're looking through marsh grass or through slight brush in between you and your target. You can read through all that and get a target on the far side of it. Conversely, if you need something that's, you know, up close and catch it, you can change that setting. I happened to be out west on a hunt last year, and right after these came out, the Razor 4000, and I was able on a steady deal to catch the distance because it was a long sight. I could see a horse, and I got a bounce back of it. It was 2,217 yards. So a 4,000 actually went above and beyond the rule of thumb of half. It was amazing, the quality of this. And you know, Chris mentioned it has the razor glass in there. The brightness is phenomenal. It would be very common for a lot of people to spend good money on this, which is in that $500 range, is not need a binocular all the time. These will be a great reference because they're so clear, and you get a little, I think they're a 7-power magnification, so it's kind of a happier medium. Just a great glass. And again, lifetime warranty, even on the electronics. We're the only company, Vortex is, that does that. So great glass. Spotting scopes would be another thing we could get into real briefly. We have a broad range. You go Crossfire, or excuse me, Diamondback, Viper, and then into the Razor. I don't know if you could see the Razor, but this happens to be a angled piece and a straight. Understand if you're going to go out west, most hunters prefer buying an angled glass because if you're going to look up a mountainside at some animals up on a clearing, you know, rather than trying to get down on your knees using a tripod, you can easily just tip this like this and be able to see what you're looking at a distance. I find that in our Diamondback or lesser price stuff that where they're using them around in our neck of the woods, where you might see that bachelor group of bucks out there out of the window, and we have window mounts available you guys can have, and those are handy. Most people like a nice straight on spotting scope usage there. A nice feature because the long range shooting is getting to be so popular, and a lot of times, especially social distancing, where you're doing this on your own.
Yep.
People, you can turn the little knob right here. It loosens the collar on the spotting scope, and you turn it right to the side, so that in this situation, you can be shooting long range, hit the trigger, and then look right here, right where you hit. So it's not there's no getting up out of your shooting position. You can use that. It's very handy, and all our spotting scopes have that capability. All are angled, so that's getting to be a nice thing. And I see we have all kinds of accessories. We do a great job with our rings and our bases, our rings. But here's kind of a nice doubler. I know, Aaron, you have these in the store. And so if this happens to be a 10x42 binocular, this doubler just is a nice add-on sale. It's not inexpensive by any means. It's like $300, I think. But you can now have this 10 power becomes a 20 power. And when I was out on my elk hunt last year, unsuccessful elk hunt, but when I was out there, I found that really handy to have, and it actually fits inside the glass pack with the binocular. So it's really a handy thing that if I have to be looking across a big area and I want to say, hey, is that a shooter animal, that multiplier just simply sits on here, and you can get double the magnification right then and there. It's very handy. Nice.
Nearly
nice-
eliminating the need to hump a spotting scope up the mountain.
That's correct.
Massive weight savings.
Yeah.
For a
Yep.
man spotter.
All right.